originally, when I did this, I just did this sectioning just to keep it neat and out of my way. But actually what it does help to do is that I'm not gonna end up touching any of the other areas, and I can work almost like in a brick lay pattern with my diagonal sections. Some of the sections, because of the diagonal, will actually kind of make a triangle or a horizontal line, but it'll still diffuse really nicely because of the point that it comes to right in the center. So let's drop our first section there. Now, first, I'm gonna go in with this nice little Cricut brush here. Now, what makes this so great for doing the root smudge, I like to just start out right in the perimeter, painting my little base. So I went in originally with this little diagonal section. Now I'm just gonna outline that with this little Cricut brush that I was talking about. We're gonna get right up to the root. Now I'm taking a rather large section to lay my color down and get like a little pressure going. So I just like, as I said, to use this paddle so that I can apply my color, especially when I'm using like the yellow and some of the lighter colors, so I can really saturate through. Now, as you can see, I just painted a couple of lines here. So that way, when I go to smudge with my hands after I apply with a paddle, I'm gonna give a seamless little blend to it. Whereas I would make a lot more work for myself if I were to do this by hand and I have to constantly go back and forth wiping my hand. And then as I discovered while playing with this, when you do it that way, you end up getting a very big color bleed. Drop this guy out the way now that I am done with it. And this is where I will take the section and just start to massage that. Now, I usually like to go from top to bottom depending on like the blend that I'm trying to make. So right now I want to blend that red right up into the yellow because I want to make a little bit of an orange. And as I said, this just helps to push the color upwards and saturate the entire section. And now you can see that we have that nice little blur going by massaging that through. And then I just have a little towel here that's just half wet, half dry, so that I can wipe my hands off in between, not disrupt any of those other colors. So now I'm gonna take the black and I'm gonna drag that down into our yellow. Now, if you don't wanna see as much black blurring into the yellow, you can do it the other way, where you can actually go from the yellow up, and that way you see a little bit more yellow. Okay, so there's our first little section there. If you're the type of person that you like to have your sections separated and you don't want them free hanging like this, then I'm just going to use a little bit of Bali wrap, lay that right over the section, and you can see through it. Obviously, there's nothing to really process, so you're not really worried about that. It's literally just working a little bit neater. Now we're going to drop down that next section. Why I sectioned it out the way that I did, so that way I can just work panel by panel and be a little bit faster, because anybody that knows me, I work at my own pace, because I like to overthink every last thing that I do. So sometimes I just got to sit there and stare at the hair, but you don't always have that time in the salon. But pretty much everybody knows that when you're doing a fantasy color, you're committing to a good amount of time in the chair. So most people really don't care that, yes, this is gonna be like maybe a half hour, an hour, or whatever of an application, because this is literally art on their head. Okay, so with this section, I am just smudging right at the root instead of dragging that down past about 2 inches like I was doing with the other sections. Now, if you want, you can lay that against the head. You can lay the section against the head once you get a little further up in your sectioning, because now it's not rounding out, and the nape is kind of a funny place because seeing as how it flattens out and curves here, kind of hard. Not to mention, you don't really want to go staining somebody's neck. Up here, I got a little bit more scalp to work with, so I'll just push my section off to the side so that way I am getting to the middle, and then I don't have to do as much work with the smudging with my hands. All right, let's see. I think for this section, we'll go red. And with this, you can plug in just about any color that you want, and of course, any color line that is your preference. As I said, I just like the semi-conditioning properties, the Pop XG, and I like the consistency. It's pretty thick. Even if the hair is slightly curly, I do get like a nice saturation. And then you can kind of feel like a little painter. As I said, you kind of get like your little Bob Ross feel having these little paddles here. Now for this one, I'm gonna go blue for the tips of the hair. And again, if you're coloring hair for somebody, if you're in a compartmental or departmentalized salon where somebody does coloring, somebody else does cutting, you know, something like like this, you would definitely want to consult with whoever's doing the cut to see how far you would bring down these tricolors. Because if you're just doing one color or two colors, sorry, like what I did in this middle section, then it doesn't really matter. Now, when you're doing a section like this, obviously, if the hair is going to be cut pretty short, you don't want to have like this beautiful little blue, this blend that you have right now with the red being totally cut off. Just be aware of what the haircut and also the styling that the person is going to use. Just take that into account when you're coloring. Okay? And again, I am going to blend my red up into the black. And I just like this nice little subtle blur, because then you don't get that harsh line of demarcation, because it's like my pet peeve in life is to sit next to somebody or behind somebody, because as a hairdresser, yeah, I'm always looking at hair. So I guess I'm the best and the worst person to go to a wedding with or any special occasion, because I will constantly be fixing your hair, moving pins around and stuff like that. That one is completely straight, whereas this one is just like slightly serrated. And that one's a soft bristle, so you can make it work with that. It's just that this one has like staggered bristles as well. So there's like 2 rows of really, really thick bristles, whereas the Paul Mitchell one is like finer. So, you know, again, your tools will also help with your work. So. Smudge on her there. I'm just gonna wipe that off. Because even though she's not gonna say anything, I still want to be considerate and not cause ring around the face.
That is very nice.
Right? I think so. Okay, so I just want to smudge that root a little bit more so I can create some little darker ribbons here, so that when it gets pulled back, it's not just a block of red and then a block of yellow and a block of blue. So it diffuses the darker color. It diffuses as you pull it back. Okay, so we're on to our last 2 sections here. As I said, this was not something that it was like an easy project. It was, I had a cancellation, it's COVID, I had time to play. Oh, and that's the other thing. With keeping yourself passionate, keep playing with your mannequins. You know, that's how you find your best aha moments, you know?
All right, everybody's psyched to see your end result again, because some people did not see it yet. So.
All right, so our end result of this application that you see right here is this lovely gal. So what I was talking about before with that really great red that's overlaid on top, and then everything else is just popped out. Now Matt did a class where he had cut this, so obviously it's gotten the like supreme amount of professional care and loving. He did a lot of like really great shattered layering that pops out all of these cool little colors, and it's almost like graffiti in a way. So I love that. And as I said, I love impressionist art, abstract, so this is like whoa for me. You know, again, have fun, as then it can lead to something that, even though this is a fashion color here, you can do this with regular color. You can do this with bleach. You can even combine a little couple of ribbons or blocks of fashion color to pop out what you've already got, even if it's just a little bit of a pastel.
Yeah,
hope you've all had fun today.
That was super cool. Yeah, I thought it was super cool, like the way that you said red, yellow, and blue, but when you said it, I thought literal like red, yellow, and blue. And this is like, I love the tones, because until you just said that at the beginning of this class, I didn't realize that this was the red, yellow, and blue mannequin that you were talking about.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, hey Matt, so this isn't actually a rainbow.
Yeah.
I'm only using a couple of colors.
And when you said you were going to color it red, yellow, and blue, I think I looked at you like you had 3 heads, probably.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that you probably imagined like
primary
block color, and
yes.
I mean they are primary colors,
Well,
but they're all blurred, and we actually made secondary colors. So for any of you guys in school, this is how you can practice color theory too. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in and going on my nice little painting color journey with me. Tune in next week. Matt will be on Tuesdays, Brian will be on Wednesdays, and I'll be on Thursdays.